Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hello Adulting, the podcast. I'm your host, Shanique. Now, Hello Adulting, the podcast is a space where we discuss topics that you should have learned in school about adulting, but you may not have learned or you need to brush up on so that you can successfully maneuver the adulting space. Today, we're talking about careers and HR and interviewing. So, we're talking about how to answer like 5 of the most commonly asked interview questions. Now, we all have to do job interviews at some point in our career, or we have to interview people. And it's always important to just know the little tidbits and the tips to master that interview so that you can get the job, show your true potential, and start making those clients, right? So my guest for this episode is Uton Vassell. Uton is a HR practitioner and a really good friend of mine that he's just like honestly one of the best HR persons I have ever worked with and I've ever had advocate for me and to help me with interviewing processes and interviewing people. So I know that he's the perfect person to take us through this topic. So we're going to get into the meat of the matter. But before we get into the topic, hi YouTube viewer, very nice of you to join me over here. I love that you're here. Now I know that you want to learn a lot more about adulting, so please don't forget to click the subscribe button below before you leave and also to click like on this video so that more persons will be able to find it and to learn from what we're learning over here. All right? All right, guys, with all that being said, let's get into the episode. Cool. Hi, Yuson. Welcome to Hello Adults in the podcast. How are you?
Hi, Shanique. I'm well, thank you. And you?
I'm good. I'm good. So before we get into the conversation, I have a question for you about career. Like, why did you choose HR as a profession over everything else?
I think HR chose me. I had about 3 career paths before me, which were law, psychology, and HR. And I ended up in HR, roughly about getting a scholarship to study HR, and I've never looked back since. So it's a passion of mine. I love dealing with people. So I think it's kind of second nature. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a very interesting journey so far. So loving it.
Okay. Okay. Now, when as an HR professional, you are on the other side of the interview. So I don't like interviews. And
Mm.
also, I really also don't like interviewing people. And interviews are just not my thing. So you've been the asker of a lot of these questions that we're going to be going through. So I think you're the perfect person to tell us like what is the interviewer trying to find out when they
Hmm.
ask us a question, and then what's the best way for us to answer? Because there are little things in interviews. It's not a lot of time, one.
Hmm.
So you don't want to be rambling on and on and on to the point where the interviewer has to interject for you to move on to
Right.
something else. But you also don't want to not give enough information and misrepresent or underrepresent yourself, right?
Right.
So these questions are things that I would have heard in interviews when I'm interviewing, or
Hmm.
when I'm on opposite side, I've been asked these questions. So we'll go through 5, and then we'll also go through how to respond to situational questions. Yeah.
I think
All right. So
interviews,
the first one is
if people think about it more like having a conversation with somebody, it's more in an attempt to get to know a candidate. But yeah, it's more along that line. If you think about it of just like having a conversation, then might ease it a bit instead of I have an interview, and just going to with a mindset that it's a conversation that you're going to be having.
okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So we're having a conversation, and the interviewer says, "Utan, tell me about yourself. What is it that? What is it? What was the interviewer trying to find out with that question, and how is the best way to answer it?"
No, this is not the time to talk about your life story and things that aren't relevant to your professional growth and development. So I always, in coaching people about how you answer this sort of a question, there are 3 things that you want to focus on. So you focus on the past, the present, and the future. So in talking about the past, you will talk about what is the background and how is it relevant to the job. Talk about your work experience and how did you get to where you are as whatever profession that you're in. And you will talk about the present, what is their present state. Talk about your current role and current accomplishments, things that you would have accomplished, projects that you would have done, whether it being pioneering by yourself or with a team, and talk about one and two of the obstacles that you would have overcame, during those projects, and then talk about the future. Um, what you're looking for in the next step in your career. Why are you interested in the role that you applied for? And how the skills and experience that you have garnered, how will it add value to this position? So you want to keep answering this question roughly about 1 to 2 minutes, because you want to keep it short and spicy. Get to the point. Um, Not to ramble and talk about things that really, you want to keep it really short and spicy. Because this gives the hiring manager, the HR professional, the opportunity to get a brief synopsis of who this candidate is. And, this is not where you get in
Gotcha.
details who you are, but you talk about some very high level highlights.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. So the second question, so they've already asked you, tell me about yourself, and you told them about yourself. Now, um, when you were talking, I thought back to this TikTok that I saw where the person said, tell me about yourself. The interviewer says, tell me about yourself, and the interviewer is like, did you read my resume? Tell me about myself. That's the wrong way to do it. The next question is also another one I saw a TikTok about was, why should we hire you? And the person was like, because you're hiring? That's the wrong answer. What's the correct answer to why should we hire you?
I mean, this is an opportunity to showcase your skills and experience, highlight your ability to fit in and work in a team. It also gives you the opportunity to explain how you can add value. That is very important. If you realize that in your talking about, yourself, you talk about how you can add value. And if you keep highlighting how you're going to be adding value, you'll definitely be able to separate yourself from all the other candidates. You also want to express your dedication and enthusiasm for the role, and what this opportunity will mean for you. But you also want to be very honest, because HR practitioners will be able to pick up if you're being dishonest. So, when you highlight these things, this will give you an opportunity to set yourself apart from the other candidates. Um, don't come with anything very generic, but come things which are original and unique to you. Um, HR practitioners don't want to hear things that you pull out from a box or you read on the internet, and you want to answer it this particular way. But tailor it in such a way that it is very much unique to you as to why you should be hired for the role. And then you can't be talking about your passion, and that is very crucial. Passion is not something that is manufactured or mass produced. It's very unique to you, and then you showcase and highlight why you're passionate about the role and this opportunity. So this is a perfect time to talk about all your areas that you've worked in, everything that you've acquired, your skills and experience, and how it will indeed. And the bottom line is that it's adding value to the position.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to tell them that, okay, I'm a great problem solver. This role is asking for this. So you go through the JD, you look for, the things that they're saying that you're looking for in a candidate, and you put that back in your response technically.
Exactly. So you want to. That's a very important point about reading the JD. You want to ensure that you're getting an idea of what this role is about and what problems this role will be solving. And once you can come up with that anecdote to adequately solve those problems and showcase this as to why you should be hired, it's all good from there.
All right. Cool. So you just spoke about your strengths when they ask you why should I hire you. You talk about your strengths, talk about what the role is asking for. The next question is, what are your weaknesses? Now, when I got my very first real interview, was when I was leaving college, and when they said to me, "What are your weaknesses?" I panicked for a second because I was like, I didn't prepare to talk about my weaknesses. I came here to talk about my strengths. Like, why am I going to tell you bad things about me? But how is a better way to look at weaknesses, and what's the best way to answer that question?
All right, so let's review talking about your strengths. Um, Sometimes candidates are not able to talk about their strengths, but you want to craft your answer with a high degree of self awareness. That is what your strength is all about. So you want to highlight, your self awareness and your professionalism. You want to be very specific in talking about and taking stuff of what you believe to be your personal strengths. Be sure to include a range of strengths, including knowledge based skills, transferable skills, soft skills, and personal traits to demonstrate your versatility. That's very, very important. I always say to people, life doesn't happen in a vacuum. And it is so important for us to be able to adapt to different scenarios and situations, and also to be trainable and teachable. You don't know it all. You're not going to know it all. Life is a continuous learning process. So, and then you kind of weave your way into talking about your weakness. It's always good to talk about stories where your weakness would have been highlighted. And when talking about your weakness, it's also imperative to choose attributes that proactively that you are proactively working on to better yourself in this area. You don't want to highlight your weakness as something that is okay, it's there and that's me. Um, the point of talking about your weakness is to show that you're able to work on it, or you're working on it, and to ensure that this weakness won't prevent you from landing this opportunity. So, you know, you can also coin it in a way where your weakness would also be a strength. So you have to be very strategic when you're talking about your weakness. You don't want to highlight something where, let's say, your weakness is not being forthright or honest about something. Not a good look. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that what you're talking about, is showcasing that it's something that you're working on proactively, and that it won't hinder you from being the best candidate.
Okay, so when you're going to talk about your weakness, you want to be strategic about the weakness that you choose to share. So
Exactly.
you're not going to tell people that you're like that that'd be a lie. You tell you don't know, to be honest. You're not going to tell anybody that. Um,
Exactly.
but if you say I struggle with time management, then you can say how you are rectifying that.
Right. So how you struggle with it, and what are you doing to remedy, that weakness?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we talked about strengths already, in a sense. Is there anything else you want to add to strengths?
Y- you know, Key in talking about your strength is self awareness.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about, you want to also talk about your strength in as it relates to some degree of traits that you should have. And I would have mentioned about transferable skills, your soft skills, problem solving skills, your ability to be versatile, to be adaptable, to be trainable, things along that line. Especially if it's a managerial role you want to talk about, and you're going to be in charge of people, your people management skills. A lot of times managers get roles and they're good at the job, but the people management aspect of it is lacking. And that, to a great degree, won't get you the results that you need in the role. So it's very crucial, if you're not, that could also be a weakness that you can highlight, and you have to be very crafty as to how you're going to demonstrate, how you're going to maneuver around this, and ensuring that you're doing right by yourself in getting the necessary help to ensure that you are a better people manager.
You know, another thing that I've heard in an interview from an interviewee is, tell me about your weaknesses. What would you say? Tell me about two of your weaknesses or your greatest weakness. And they say, I don't have any weaknesses. How bad is that, or is that bad?
Um, it kind of sends a message that you are not really humble. and it kind of connotes that you are catch me out. You know everything. It also could be seen as you're not trainable. You're gonna be
Mm,
in a different environment. You could be at the highest in your career, the best thing since sliced bread. There's always going to be a learning curve. You're coming into a new culture, be exposed to new processes and way of which the company operates. So if you're going to be saying that you don't have any weaknesses, it's kind of a red flag because we all do. We all do. So you might want to think about that a little bit, or even if you
mm.
can't think about something off the top of your head right away, you can always ask the interviewer to, can we revisit this question later down in the interview process? That
Ah,
will demonstrate that you're thinking about it, and you want to tailor your response in a way that even though you're highlighting what your weaknesses are, is still showing self-awareness. Because
yeah,
that
that's a
these
good one.
asking these things is really coming down to that. The coin of it all, or bottom line, is that you are self-aware.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one that a lot of people don't use a lot in interviews. I've never used that in an interview. The can I
Yeah,
come back to that
yeah,
question after? Yeah, that's a
yeah.
good point. Okay, good. The next question is, why do you want to work here?
So it's very important when answering this question to do some research on the company, do some research on the role, do some research of who you will be reporting to. Um, you can even look into the finances of the company, anything you believe that will help in your pursuit of getting this role. You want to also showcase your skills and experience, and how can your skills and experience help you to succeed in this role. You want to describe why you enjoy working in that position, because it's crucial. And this is also an opportunity for you to demonstrate your long term to short term goals in this role or with the company. Talk about your 30, 60, or 90-day plan in the role, what you plan to do, for your probationary period. Highlight your passion. Very important. Passion, does your passion align to the company's goals, values, and mission? Does it align with their products and services? Stuff along that line. And you have to be very specific about answering this question, and back up your claims with examples. It's always important. So, whatever it is that you're talking about, talk about a time when you had a project to deal with and the obstacles that you had to overcome. How did you meet the deadline? How did you manage your time? How did you work with the members of your team? How did you manage your team? What skills were really pulled on for you to achieve this project to get it done in a timely manner? How were you able to save the company X amount of money? How were you able to bring in a new client? How you were able to bring in this number of sales? Stuff along that line. So you want to ensure that you use this in a very specific way by giving an example as to how you got something done, how you move something along the line, um, demonstrating that you are going to be adding value to this role and highlighting your experience and the skills that you have garnered over the years in your professional life is also important. So this is a time for you to demonstrate all of this, to really capture the interviewer's attention and set
Hmm.
it apart from the other candidates.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Um, a question that is normally tailored with this, in my experience, is either why do you want to work here, or what is something that we're doing badly that you would like to change. Now, that question can get you into trouble
Yeah.
because most likely the person who is asking you is it in the room is in the room, so the person who is doing it right now may be in the room, right? So let's say it's a marketing role and they say, what do you think about our social media page? The marketing manager is most likely in the interview, and essentially that person has oversight on what goes on that page. So you're critiquing them, but they're asking you for your opinion. You have to be critical in order to give that opinion. But what would be the best way to approach a question like that?
So your criticism must be constructive. Whatever it is that you're going to be highlight, come with a solution or a suggestion to fix it. It's not that, oh, I don't think that you guys post enough. What is the recommendation that you have? So you can't leave something half answered, because whatever it is that you're highlighting, they want to see how you think. Are you thinking critically? That will set you apart for you to get the job. Are you, because throughout this process, you are demonstrating that you are indeed the right fit for the role. So, in giving whatever ill that it is for that you have identified, come up with some solution for it. Make suggestions, come up with constructive criticism, and ensure that you are tailoring in such a way that whatever it is that you're saying, it doesn't come across off-putting. Because sometimes when we do give our opinion about something, it's not what is said.
It's
It's
how.
always how. It's very important as to the how. So candidates need to understand that, if you come across something, and this can be done better. Give some suggestions as how and also especially if it's something within your area of expertise, detail it. How are you going to do it from the start to finish? Even make it a project as a whole. I say I can include this in my first 30 days, 6 days, 90 days. How we can fix this issue. And that will show and demonstrate that you are intentional about this role, and also gives you the opportunity to highlight some of your passions.
Okay. Okay. Oh, we're almost out of time, but before we wrap up, I do situational questions are always included in interviews. It gets them to see how you think on your feet, one,
Yeah.
and also lets us know honestly a lot more about you, things that you didn't tell us already that we can pick out from what you're saying to us. So when you get situational responses like, tell me about a time when you had to, deal with conflict with a coworker, or tell me about a time when you had to manage a project on your own, or something about that. What are the maybe three things that we need to keep in mind when we're responding to situational questions?
The purpose of situational questions is to see how you think, how you,
Mm-hmm.
and how you apply whatever it is that you would have gotten in terms of your experience, and how you handle things. Um, the key to situational questions is to process it. Think about it before you respond. Um, and be very, very intentional about your response, because this is an opportunity for you to really hit, you know, this point in terms of, all right, it's go time. Let's bring this home. This is your perfect opportunity. So you want to ensure that you're giving responses that is going to demonstrate how you think, how you adapt, um, and how you apply. There's a saying, very cliche as it is, that knowledge is power. But that's not a foolproof statement, because you can have a key and don't use it. How is it going to be powerful? But this is an opportunity for you to apply things in a situation, so that you can affect whatever change that you want to see, get the results that you want. Comes back again to the how you do it. What processes that do you use to get this to the end result? Um, how did it make you feel? How did
Mm-hmm.
others feel? Um, were there any breaches in getting whatever it is that you want? Because the ethical behavior is very important in whatever situation that you're in. So you want to ensure that you think about this in a way that will definitely highlight who you are. And this
Mm-hmm.
is the reason why this question is asked, because it gives the interviewer a deeper understanding as to who this candidate is, and how
Mm-hmm.
it also gives an idea whether or not you'll be a job fit or a culture fit or a department fit, whatever it is that they're looking for specifically for the role. This gives them that answer in how
Okay.
you know you choreograph your response.
Okay. I mean, there's so much more that we could talk about in the interview process, because there's so much that goes into it. Things that you do before the interview, you do during the interview, you do after the interview. But thank you so much for responding to all of these questions. I know this will definitely help somebody land a job, and we will definitely be chatting with you again on
Sure.
other HR matters. We have a lot of them. We have a
I'm
lot.
here. I'm here. I'm here.
Thank you so much, Uton.
All right. Thank you. Take care.